With us this evening is Pastor Rick Sturgill from Real Life Ministries to do our invocation. If you will stand, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, remain standing. Pastor.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father, we do thank you this evening, Lord, for this meeting. We thank you for our council members, Lord. We thank you for those in attendance this evening. We thank you, Lord, for good, godly council members that take care of our city. Thank you for all the progress that they're making. And we pray this evening, Lord, that you continue to help them to make wise decisions, Lord, for our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Everybody say
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Sturgill. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Cleary.
Here.
Haney.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Hawk.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Risk. Here.
Next is the approval of minutes, and we have our regular council meeting minutes of November 8th, 2021, Finance Committee meeting minutes of November 8th, 2021, and the Strategic Planning Committee meeting minutes of November 8th, 2021. Are there any errors, omissions, additions to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, those will stand approved. Before we move on to audience participation, I would like to take just a second. This is the last meeting for this council as it's assembled before Mr. Perry sits with us at the next meeting. So first, being in public service the last 2 years has been a little tough with all the public health issues that have been going on, and whether it be school board or city council or mayor, Congress, you name it. It's been a little tough being a public servant. So for the last 2 years, I've felt like it's really important to say thank you to people. And so this is Beth's last meeting with us, and Beth has been on city council for 12 years in addition to being a police officer for the city of Ironton. And so I feel it's really important to say thank you to Beth for your service to the citizens of Ironton and to our city. Thank you, Beth. In addition to that, our last election, Councilman Cleary was elected again, and since I've known Bob since I was a teenager, so only a couple of years now. Shows both of our age, Bob. First time I ever met you, I was a teenager, and you were vice mayor sitting right here in this chair. So it all kind of comes full circle for me to say this is 30 plus years for you in public service. Nobody does that for the fame or the glory. Nobody does that to get rich in the city of Ironton. They do it because they have a heart for public service. And so I felt it was important. Again, during COVID, we saw a lot of people pass away that after their passing, people had a lot of good things to say about them. And I felt like it was really important to say thank you, and we appreciate you to people while they're still with us. And you've devoted 30 plus years of service to this city. So your wife is here tonight, and I'd like for her to go back there. Well, that's okay, because Dr. Smith's sitting right under it, so he can do it there. Jared, will you stand up and pull that piece of paper off the wall there? So back there with Dorothy Minnie, who was the first woman to serve on the city council, is now a plaque for you, Bob. And this is your copy. It says, "In recognition of Robert A. Bob Cleary for his years of service to the city of Ironton, Bob has faithfully served the citizens of Ironton for 30-plus years as an elected official. The majority of his service has been as a city council member, in addition to being mayor. Presented by the Ironton City Council 2021. And all these people here, we went behind your back and we all talked about how we should do this for you. And so this is from all of us. I thought tonight was going to be a short meeting, but as you can see from the audience, it may not end up being a short meeting, but December 1st, you guys can all get your picture there if they want to leave. If they want to stick around, you're more than welcome to take pictures. Next is audience participation. If you would like to address the Ironton City Council, we have with us a zoning officer tonight that would like to address the council first. But step to the podium, state your name and address.
Susan Dooley, 1313 29th Street, Ashland. I guess there's been some complaints from a church on Reynolds Street, not from the church, from the neighbors. They think that maybe they might be running a business. I think what they're doing there is just counseling, which is what churches do in any zone. To me, I don't believe they're running a business. I think it's just counseling. Now, if the neighbors have a problem with the people being loud, I think maybe the people from the church and the neighbors, it might be good for them to get together and talk about this maybe, because I really don't think that it's a zoning issue. But that's it.
Chris, I know you asked about specific places. Was that one of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question about that?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
For the most part.
You have any other questions for Susan?
I do know that some citizens, there was a petition going around with 40-some signatures.
I have that petition.
You have that?
But
Okay.
it's still, I mean, what they're doing there is legal, but it might be a noise complaint maybe. That's what it sounds like to me, that they're just maybe causing a ruckus. And I think maybe if they would get together and talk about it, it might help, maybe. But that's my opinion. I don't believe they're running business, but maybe.
Anything else?
Susan, is the noise or the loudness during business hours, daytime?
You would have to ask the neighbors. I mean, they've sent me, things what they've done. I think it probably is maybe in the evening, some of it looked like, but they would be probably easier to answer than that.
Thanks, Susan. Others that would like to address the Ironton City Council this evening?
First of all, I would like to say, Councilperson Rist, it's been a privilege to work with you for over 20 years.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Cleary, congratulations. Well deserved. And the third thing is, I would like to remind everyone that there is a copy of the October 2021 financial statements on your desk. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Go ahead.
Joe?
Good evening. Joe Fletcher, 804 Vernon Street, Ironton. My concern I'm bringing to the council is the halfway houses / rehabilitation centers that's been located all around the city. I mean, how many do we need? Within a 2-block radius of my home, there's 5 of them. I mean, I'm concerned, a town this small, well, we got a population 10,000. How many do we really need? And then I hear, rumor has it that they're building one, well, the one at old Ruderman store is gonna be rehabilitation too. And then the one by Wendy's, how many do we need?
Joe, you're not, your concern is well heard. We hear it every single time that we get together from different parts of town. And on a legislative end, so the council, all we can really do is set law, right? And the two jobs of council are legislation and appropriation, law, money, right?
Right.
So we've tried to tackle it from a law standpoint, and then it becomes a zoning issue. So we've also tried to, we've done some things with zoning. We've reanalyzed what the definition of family is in the family zones, in the R zones, the residential zones. We've also looked at large areas of town which we had to have resurveyed so that we can have accurate maps, because we can't spot zone. So we have to do it in large sections. So one of the things that we've done is gotten together and said, we've identified these areas as really residential areas that we'd like to see stay residential and avoid exactly what you're talking about. Your frustration, I share too, because our process is so slow. And we have to do a 30-day notice to the public. We have to have a public hearing. It has to go through 3 separate readings of council. The rules can't be suspended, so you're talking about at least 6 weeks, maybe longer if it's one of those months where the council meeting is actually longer than the second or fourth, or the second or fourth Thursday is longer than the previous month, so you might be 7 or 8 weeks. So we're trying on this end, I promise you, to tackle that. But the other thing that you can do is the day-to-day operation the mayor handles, so he can send out zoning to check out those issues. And we actually have a reporting system now because of all these concerns that we hear every single time that we gather, every single time we go to the store, every single time we go to our old store that's rumored to be a new one of these places, you know, the Pleasant Stop on Pleasant Street. So there's a new way to report that on the City of Ironton's website,
Okay.
cityofironton.org. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a thing for zoning, and it says report enforcement code violations. It's not just for that, it is for that, but like, you know, we also hear, hey, this person's got mattresses out in the alley and has, so it's for things like that as well, because those seem to be ongoing issues that we have in a day-to-day operation of the city. So there is a way to report that, Joe, at the bottom of the page. You can report that, and you can report it anonymously, or you can leave your name and then follow the progress of that report and see what's being done about it. It's tagged to you by your email address. Okay?
Okay.
Jacob,
Just a minor correction, it's Ironton, Ohio, not
what'd I say? City of
City of
Ironton.
Ironton.
IrontonOhio.org. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Bob.
Okay.
I think everybody up here shares your feelings, your sentiments. I've done some checking on myself, and a month ago I was reporting that we had about 30 of them.
30 of them in the
Yeah,
city of Ironton.
Now, last week, there's been, according to my sources, there's been 10 more that said they think the number, and I'm talking about homes that's been converted over to these rehab houses. Now they say there's about closer to 40 now. And, you know, I think it's totally out of control.
It is out of control.
As Craig said, we're doing everything we can do to slow it down or to stop it. But anyway, that's just for your information there, but we're somewhere around 40 houses now that's been purchased and converted over.
Well, you know, I'm all about second chances. You know, everybody makes mistakes or has trouble, but we bring these people in here, and you know, they come in broke, and when they put them out, they're broke, so they're gonna stay here. So, you know, and another thing, they seem to be located in the same neighborhoods. I mean, I don't see any in Green Valley or Indian Hills. I mean, why are they all located in the same area?
I don't think they are all located in the same area. I've seen a lot of them moved in close to where I live. I've seen them up and down 4th Street. So, I mean, it's everywhere.
Bob's right and you're right, Joe. That they are scattered throughout, but you don't see them in Indian Hills because it's zoned R1. And one of the things that we're trying to do is rezone large sections of town R1A, which is a new zone that we created that eliminates the headaches for the homeowner of being able to add on to your house, your setbacks, the amount of footage that or footprint that your house can cover in case you want to add on to your house. It eliminates those headaches of an R1 for the homeowner, but also protects your neighborhood as an R1 zone, which is where you don't see those. So you're both. And
Green Valley the same way?
Parts of Green Valley are R1, but parts of Green Valley are R2. It depends on the section. Mayor,
I
Susan?
think it divides right where the township actually divides, like Delaware, McPherson. I think McPherson to the Storms Creek is R1, and then it's R2 to Hanging Rock.
So yeah, that's why, Joe, that's why some places you see it, some places you don't, and that's why we're trying to address it from a zoning issue, but again, it takes a lot of time to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Chris?
Mr. Fletcher, I just wanted to say I appreciate you coming to the meeting tonight to address these concerns, which, like everybody else has said, I have the same concerns myself. Like Craig said, I get more calls or, you know, comments about this issue than any other issue. There's two things that I would like to know personally, and one question is for the solicitor. Do we have the ability to limit, because Mr. Fletcher just said that there's 5 within a 2-block radius. Are we legally allowed to limit the number within a certain?
No.
But we can't say you have to be located within 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet of another one?
Well, I mean, you would have to change the zoning code to say that. But yes, I mean, if you change the zoning code to say that, but again, we've given an opinion on this, you cannot completely zone them out.
Right.
So, what we've done in addition to what Chairman Harvey said, we also reduced the amount of people that can live in a house from 5 unrelated persons down to 3 unrelated persons, which at some point will just business-wise drive the incentive to have these houses open because of the amount of people that can stay in them unrelated. But right now, the federal government for a tier 1 drug addict, they pay $2,500 a week for their care. For a tier 2, the step down from that, they pay $2,100 a week. So you can do the math very quickly. If you have 5 tier 1s in a house, then that is the amount that these businesses are getting. So it's a business decision. So you know, there are a lot of you know, that's the federal government, not the local government, that sets those.
Right.
These are all Medicaid. I shouldn't say all. 98% are Medicaid reimbursed clients.
Well, I know it comes down to the almighty dollar, but I know there's one right across from my house it goes unsupervised through the night, you know, and you see them coming and going all the time. It's like a hotel.
Chris?
Another question for the solicitor is could there be legislation passed to mandate a certain number of supervisors or employees in those? Or?
So that would not be zoning, that would be a business restriction, so I'm not sure how the council could pass something like that. Again, OMOS, who regulates the payment, does have certain regulations. Now, whether those are being followed or not, you know, who knows? but I don't believe council has the ability to tell a business owner how they necessarily run their business.
So do they, when they open up one of these homes, who comes and I guess would do the inspection?
So if they're getting paid by Medicaid, it would be OMOS, the Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services, is who governs the payment. So those people would be responsible for inspecting the home to make sure it's adequate fire code, adequate building code, those type of things.
Is there protocol for them to notify the city?
If they're a certain registration, yes, and we went through this before, such as, there are certain places like Fowles Group Home, for example, on 6th and Madison Monroe. That house is registered, but these other rehab facilities are not registered. So could you pass legislation requiring it? Probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Nate.
Also, Mr. Fletcher, one of the things, like you said, the almighty dollar is, and this is just my personal sentiment, but, you know, I wish that we were in a situation where the government threw more money at prevention rather than fixing the problem once it's already there. You know, I think that money would be more wisely spent to prevent this type of issue than to try to fix it once it's already happened. But that's just me, but once again, I do appreciate you
Nate.
addressing council.
Joe, I understand your concern. I'm in the same boat. So I understand that. I do want to talk about one of the things we passed, which is a chronic nuisance property ordinance, where if the police are called to the same property repeatedly, police is supposed to be tracking that, and the owner of that property will receive citations because of those complaints being ongoing. So that's something we passed also. So I encourage you, if there's something going on, if they're breaking the law, or, you know, to call the police so that can be tracked on their end, and whoever owns that home, not the people that are there, will also, you know.
Okay, well, who tracks that? Because, you know, there's several times that the police department, the fire department shows up, and the EMS, so we know what's going on there. I mean, it's happened several times.
I can't speak to who individually tracks that, but what we passed was for the police department to track it. I don't know who in the police department is doing it, but for that to be tracked.
But somebody has to make a complaint
Yes.
before it, okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily complaint, so if you have someone overdose there and fire, EMS, police all show up and there's that person laying out on the sidewalk, they're supposed to file a report. And so our chief of police, Pam Wagner, every once in a while, somebody will call me, Joe, like Chris said, we get these all the time. Someone will call me and say, this is like the third time someone's overdosed over here this week. And so I'll call Pam myself and say, is this property something that's on your list? And she'll say, yes. So the property owner receives escalating fines. So not only do they get fined, but then the next time they have something else happen, it escalates, and it escalates all the way to a misdemeanor.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, Chris, you need this back? Or
No,
can I keep
you can
that?
have it.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, hey, thank you. Hey, Beth, congratulations to my old classmate. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right.
If memory serves me, of one of our many discussions about that, I believe there's a website to file complaints.
Yeah, I already told him.
Oh, okay.
I got it wrong, but I already told him.
My name is Mike Scott. I live at 1739 Reynolds Street, Ironton. Mine's about the lady that was talking about zoning on Reynolds Street. I live there. That's a church. I used to go to that church. It's not a church no more. They may go to church on Sundays and maybe Wednesdays. They're there every night. I'm not saying every night of every week, but they're there every night. Church ain't going on every night. Have bonfires. They've hit a fence in the back. They're always, here's my problem. I got a 3.5-year-old grandson. I got a son in a wheelchair. The speeding up and down Reynolds Street and in the alley is terrible. I've hollered, slow down, and I mean hollered. I'll get the finger or what have you, or holler this, that, and the other. That's my problem with that church And not the church, it's what's going on at that church. And that lady said there's nothing to do with zoning. It ain't a church. They ain't going on Wednesdays and Sundays. It's every night, packed full of cars. My neighbor can't get in his driveway sometimes. I don't really know where to go with this, but after hearing her, I just wanted to say that I don't know what we can do about it, but it ain't being just as a church. They're going up there, because to me, this is a business when they say, my name's Mike Scott and I've been off the whatever for so long. That's where you go to them meetings and have that. Where they're doing that there with bonfires. I don't care about the bonfire. That don't bother me at all. But it ain't just a church. I don't know if there's something wrong with that, but I don't think they should be there 7 days. And this is a very, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It's a neighborhood. That church had been there since the 1900s, early. And they closed it down, and I guess they sold it to them. And I don't know what can be done, but the speeding through there, the people cursing us when we tell them to slow down. I got grandkids, and my son's enough. I don't want to see nothing happen. So I'm telling you this to see what can happen or what should happen. So I'm asking as well as telling.
So it's the same answers that you've already heard, Mike. I know that's all that this body can do, but reporting is one, and then having a conversation with the pastor would be the other. But as far as action from this body, zoning is the only authority that we have.
And that zoning, ain't that for residential?
Depends on where, but yes.
Well, I mean, that's the only place that is in the north end of town that ain't a house, is that church.
Yeah.
That's it. So I don't know how that's rated, if they're allowed to be there every night and have their meetings and I don't have nothing against that either, but I don't think it should be in our residential area. And if the speeding kills me, because I got a young grandson and I just don't want to see anything happen, because that's bad. I just wanted to say my piece. I don't really know what can happen, but I just keep thinking she said it ain't unlawful, and I don't know nothing about no zoning. But I would think that if y'all know the north end, there ain't no place in north end that ain't a house. Where I live there at Green Valley, except for that church. And it ain't, I think there's business there. That's how I feel. And when I say business, is where you see them in the buildings and they all get together and they have support system. Well, they're using that as the church. Church is Wednesdays and Sundays. Occasionally there's some stuff, but not every night. Thank you.
Mike, I think a lot of the things that you named too would be things that we would need to report to the police department too. So like the parking issue, the speeding issue.
Are they gonna sit down there and take speed?
Well, I think we'd have to call, just whenever it's happening. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's happening all when everybody's leaving or everybody's coming.
Yeah, both coming and leaving.
And then also fires as well. That might be something that they can have.
That really don't bother me, the bonfire, but when there's 50, 60 people around that thing, and then they're coming out of there, that's what bothers me. I understand what y'all are saying. I didn't know. I just want to speak my mind, because that's residents. And church is fine. I have nothing against church, Sundays and Wednesdays, but all the time, every night. And I'm not saying that there's 7 days a week, but maybe 5, and then the next week it may be 7, or then the next week it may be 3. A lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike White, also down on Reynolds Street. Mike pretty much spoke the word right out of my mouth. Don't have anything against, rehabilitation, things like that. It's really just taken over our neighborhood and turned it into something that's not even very pleasant to be around anymore. Like I said, I've always got along great with the preacher, and my first time ever coming here, but it's got to that point that I'm asking from you guys as a taxpayer to see what we need to do here, because it's either me move or just deal with it, and I don't want to deal with it. And if I go to move it's gonna bring my property value down. You know, I could see me over there showing my house and looking next door and see that going on. That's not gonna go over well. So I feel stuck. Love it down there, love my neighbors, and my signature is on that 40-plus people. That's a lot of people in that one area to sign it. It's just completely against what's going on down there. That we cannot overlook that. I mean, that's the voice of the people talking. You know, whether it's zoned, whatever, just like Mike said, it's not church. It's, and, you know, there's random people standing over there all the time. I mean, I don't know if they're about to break in or they're scoping stuff out, but through the day, I mean, you'll just see, just people hanging out. It's just, I found a homemade shank in the alley out there. It was a reciprocating saw blade with electrical tape wrapped around it. The trash cans stay full, and whatever trash cans open down the alley, I mean, they're Red Bulls and Monster drinks and cigarette packs and everything. I mean, this is all the complaints we've got from everybody in the area. So basically, Mike said it pretty well.
What about the school being there, Mike?
What's that?
The school being right there too.
The what?
The school. The school is right there in a couple of blocks. So I don't know if that has anything to do.
Well, you've heard all the answers.
Yeah.
I mean, we're handcuffed up here, so that falls back on zoning and the day-to-day operation and filing complaints with the police, filing a complaint on the zoning thing. I mean, we've tried our best to give residents the tools to do that. We're trying behind the scenes to fix the laws, which doesn't happen fast. It's not going to happen fast enough for anyone's liking. So it's the same answer, Mike.
Right.
You know,
it seems like everything's just spun out of control on this, and nobody really paid attention to what was going on, and now we're just led with this big old problem in the town. I mean, I see them down across from the barber shop hanging out. I mean, I don't think that's something we want our town to be known for. You know, when you go down to get your hair cut, you look across the street, and they're all out there loitering, just like, what is going on? This is Ironton, man. You know, but comes down to the almighty dollar, I guess. But like I said, first time here. I'm not one to complain. Love living in Ironton. I just want to speak my opinion.
thanks, Mike.
Mark, do you know if they're operating as a church with an ordained minister?
I do not. Don't know much really what's going on other than I'm just smart enough to know that it's not church every day. I hear people talking about being addicted to drugs for years. And, they go around in a big circle, 40 people out there, and, in my mind, I'm thinking if you're not sober after 3 years, you're probably not going to get sober. You're 40-some years old, They cart them in buses. The women get out in the front. The men get out in the back. I mean, they're congregating, switching numbers. I mean, it's just not the right neighborhood for it.
That's not church.
Hey,
So,
Jacob.
I've just been Googling a little bit, trying to figure out what exactly is going on there, and it looks like it's Narcotics Anonymous meetings. What they should have is some sort of like sanctioning body above them that you could probably file a complaint to, I would imagine. If they're not following like the ethics of that organization, then I would imagine that whoever granted them the ability to have these meetings would take that right away. If it's causing a disturbance in the neighborhood, then I would contact the leadership in that organization, and there's numbers that you can find if you just search Narcotics Anonymous, Lawrence County, Ohio. But that's, as far as I can see, that's what's going on there, because they've got the meetings listed and they say it's 7 o'clock on, whichever day it is. But that would be a suggestion that I would have, would be to try and contact, whoever authorized them to have those meetings, because it sounds like they're clearly not following the ethics of that organization.
Thanks, Mike.
thank you.
Chris.
Mr. White, I appreciate you coming in and voicing your concerns, but there's one thing that I would like to explore, and I'll have to do some more research at a different time, but I'm looking at the R1 zoning, And I do see churches on here, churches, synagogues, or other places of worship, Sunday school buildings, schools for academic instruction, public libraries, museums, art galleries, and similar public cultural uses. Now, I don't know that whatever meetings they're holding would be considered that. I don't know if that would be considered a church, but also it doesn't say anything in the health and personal care either about these types of meetings. So
I would think that's something that
we need
you could probably get an opinion on whether, if it's faith-based, then it would be under church and synagogue, Chris. If it's not faith-based, we probably need an opinion on whether that follows the zoning or not.
I will follow up on that. Thank you.
Others that would like to address the Ironton City Council?
My name is Matt Sonnebeck. I live at 2014 North 3rd Street. I've got some of these notes on my phone here, so bear with me here. Kind of piggyback some of the sentiments of everybody else. We'll take a look here. Come forward, to this, you guys today as a concerned citizen of the city of Ironton. I lived in Ironton almost all my life, other than going to college, and living out of town for a few years to begin my career. I've been with at almost going on 25 years. I love it here. If I didn't care about it, I wouldn't be sitting right here, and I wouldn't be raising my family here. I'd be gone years ago. I'm a taxpayer. My utility bill is paid in full every month. Usually it has a credit. And before I get to my point, I just want to acknowledge that I am an advocate for treatment. I have a genuine concern for others, and I consider myself not to fall in the category of not in my backyard. However, I would like to speak with you about some things I know that we've talked about here before. Yes, over the past several years, we've seen a pretty good increase of these drug treatment facilities and these transitional houses to the point where it's affected quality of life, not just for me or my people or my family or whatever, but for others here. I didn't know Joe was going to be here today, or Mike's going to be here, or these guys are going to be here today, or JT's going to show up. I just happened to be here today because this is something that I wanted to express to the city council, the reasons that I voted for most of you people on here. I look at it as, I wouldn't feel comfortable, with walking around if I had kids, to the riverbank, skipping rocks in the river like I used to do with my dad, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that right now because guess what I've got to walk to is I have to walk by 4 treatment centers just to even get to the riverbank. There's a new counseling center going in over here across the street from the courthouse, and you go catty corner within 500 feet, there's 2 more door to door, and then next to I shirt myself is another drug rehab, all within 600 feet of each other. These things are, you see everything from ODs to fights, people walking around the neighborhood smoking, flicking cigarette butts in people's yards, property damage, thefts. Just try going to Speedway on any evening down here on Park Avenue with all the ones that are saturated with mended reeds. It's dangerous. It's just time that it gets addressed. And my question, to you guys too is how many are there companies in Ironton? I think Mr. Cleary said somewhere near 40. Oh man. And the thing about it is that I can tell you this, it's way more than what you think too. These companies are just buying up houses in the city and doing what they want. They're, like I said before, they're within 600 feet of each other. And this passive approach to, these centers has got to stop. It is. I want to talk about the kinds of people that are in these facilities. And I know this personally because of the nature of my position. The clients that are treated at these facilities are high risk. meaning that they're more likely to commit new criminal offenses and their likelihood of future criminal behavior is very high. If they're residing in Ironton, you know, where do you think they're going to commit their crimes? In Ironton. And all of them are addicted to some sort of drugs, mostly meth, heroin, Suboxone. I mean, you guessed it, man. You can't get any harder than that. You know? And most all have lengthy criminal records, and most all have been to prison for one time or another. Yeah, that's who we're bringing into our community. Most of you don't see the cars parked on the riverbanks, you know, where people are sleeping inside their cars. And it's not to say that all the people from transition live there. It's not. But these people that come here for treatment, they get kicked out or they're still in treatment, and they would decided to stay here. I've seen it, you know, and then they end up deciding to stay in Ironton because it gives them a new start. They don't want to go back to Athens. They don't want to go back to Marietta. They don't want to go back to Columbus. They don't want to go back to Ashland. They want to come here because they don't know anybody here. I spoke with numerous police officers, firefighters, EMS personnel regarding these facilities. Their calls for service have increased dramatically, and the treatment centers are the common denominator.
Matt, I'll interject. If you have something you feel is really important to tell us, get to it. Otherwise, we're going to move on because we've addressed.
I'm sitting here talking. You asked me something was very important. I thought that's what was here I was talking about.
That's not what I said, Matt. I said if you've got something else that you feel is
No. This is one topic I have.
Okay, and so we've heard you again. The same things. We've felt the same frustrations.
I'm almost finished. If you let me finish here, I just like some time. I'm a taxpayer. I'm also a voter. I would just like 3 or 4 minutes of your time. That's it.
See, the thing is, we've got other things to do, and we've spent 35 minutes talking about the same thing that we are addressing. And we're telling you we're addressing. We're aware of, we're addressing. We've put things in place on the city's website. We've passed legislation to try to make things a misdemeanor if they don't comply. We're as frustrated as you are, Matt, I promise you.
Hey, I understand that.
You know me, and you know that.
I understand that.
We could have a conversation out in the hall, and I'm just as frustrated about this as you are. Promise.
I understand that.
But this body right here has no enforcement on the day-to-day. None. And that's frustrating to me because it reflects on us. And I've said that in here to all these people, is that whether it's a mayor issue or a zoning issue or a police issue, it's us. We're the ones catching the arrows, and we get it because we're frustrated too. But I've told you what we can do and what we are doing.
But this is the thing, nothing's getting done. We're saturated with them. Has anybody been to Portsmouth lately? Does anybody hang out in Portsmouth?
I went there to see Ironton lose the Wheelersburg.
Yeah, that was a good thing. But I'm just saying, these people, they're not from Ironton that are coming here. They're from all over the place. They're recruiters. The counseling center, just give me 1 more minute, Craig. I promise I'll be done. Mr. Harvey, excuse me. The counseling center recruiters, they're going as far away as Mansfield to recruit people at these places to come here. And guess what they're doing? These are all these people with lengthy criminal records. This is what we're bringing in here. In order to get treatment. Guess what they're doing? They're staying. And guess what they're doing? They're breaking in my car. They're taking my stuff out of my change in my stuff over there. My mom can't sit on her front porch because she's got people come there begging to give her stuff. Man, you know, I don't want to come here just to complain and not have a proposal, but this my proposal is to limit the number we have here. You know, I mean, limit what we have. I mean, we're getting saturated with it. Nobody would feel safe walking in Portsmouth, I'm telling you. Nobody.
So your suggestion, we've explored that?
One of my suggestions, yes.
That one specifically. We've explored that and have been told that by law we cannot limit it.
How come you don't see these things in Dublin, Ohio, or places like that, some of these places like that? You don't see them there.
I don't know. Can't answer that. Nate.
Matt, feel you. I've been preaching the same thing for a long time. I think why you don't see them in Dublin and you see them in areas like ours is because it's not cost effective to have them in Dublin. It's cost effective to have them here because they can afford to put homes in. So it's my impression that if they are performing treatment in the homes, that there are certain things that would violate the zoning for that. But the thing is, they're not performing treatment in those homes. My understanding, a lot of the homes, they are just living there. They are living there, being housed there, and treatment being performed somewhere. So as far as how to zone that, as far as people just living in a home, it'd be just like, 5 of us living in a home. You can say we can't have 5 of you guys living there. Does that make sense? That's why we try to do the 5 to 3.
But there's no oversight. Who checks that out? Because I can attest that I promise you, if you get on these transitional houses, I've walked in these places, I go to these places and frequent these places often, and there's 30 people and then there's 2 staff. Where's the oversight of them?
Well, that's one of my questions too. If they have staff there,
That's the thing nobody knows.
If they have staff there, is that considered a business? I didn't
Like Evan sitting back here, how many times he gets called to transitional houses and all these places breaking up fights, ODs, domestic disputes, whatever. For 2 guys that lives in Athens and 1 guy from Marietta and a girlfriend. And guess what? Now what they're doing? He met her in rehab. Now she's pregnant. Now she's a fiance. And guess what? Now they're having a child. We're going to stay right here because we like it.
I'm telling you, I'm just as frustrated as you are, man. I'm telling you. I've even proposed legislation to have it so that they are licensed and through the city. But and Brady can tell you this, that he's been contacted. Once I had that, if it was good to pass, we were going to be sued automatically by this guy. So like for discrimination and so forth. So I feel your frustration. I preach and preach it, and I think the best way to attack it is zoning and enforcement of that zoning. I hope the 5 to 3 works, and maybe some of the things that we're bringing up here might help clarify that too. If there's staff working there, or some of the points that Chris made that maybe we can get some clarity on. But I am 100% in agreement with you that this cannot be the Rehab Riviera.
And that's what it is.
And what we're going to hang our hat on here.
One thing, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and seems like nobody seems to know. It's like, okay, well, we'll check that out. We're not sure how many's there. Or I guess they do AA or they do NA over here. No one even knows what's going on with it.
Matt, thanks.
That's my issue.
We got to move on.
Chris has got a question. Mr. Haynes.
Mr. Steinbeck, I appreciate your concern, again, address
Chris,
the council.
I said we need to move on.
We will.
We need to move on.
But
Like now.
as
We
I
need to
told
move on.
everybody else,
Chris.
we'll do our due diligence, and I plan on making.
Enough. We need to move on. Matt.
Speak freely in audience
Hey.
participation.
No.
Mr. Haynes, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mayor.
So do I need to put a mask on? Sincerely, I don't. Is that
It's required for the building, JT, not city council, but
okay? My name's JT Holt. I live at 816 South 7th Street. I've got some solutions. Well, number one, I want to tell you why I'm even here. There's a lot catty corner from my house that I caught wind that rehab facilities were looking at buying. So I called the owner of that to inquire as to it. So I'm in the position here where the position that the city is now in with these rehabs, it's hurting my property value, yet someone that I want to buy it from, if I have to take action from the city's inaction and spend thousands of dollars, it's raising the price in one way and hurting my property values in the other. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. And this is a unique position for me because I have vocally, publicly been for rehabs. I believe in it. I just lost a family member to a similar thing this past weekend. But I have some possible solutions. Number one, I think the tax department, the finance department here could send people, you guys could send people out, or whoever would be responsible for doing that. Those people, the actual workers at those places are not, I guarantee they're not paying income tax. And it's not just rehab, it's NECO too. send people to those homes where they're living, make sure that they are actually, whoever's working there is actually paying income taxes. Number two, I do believe that it's become a public welfare issue, and I've advised municipalities that I represent, or a municipality that I represent of that you can, I think OMAS does have the, I don't know if it's exclusive authority, but they have the authority to issue these licenses and regulate these types of facilities. But I think it's a public welfare issue at a local level. I think you can pass staffing regulations. Now, enforcement is a whole other issue. But that leads me to another thing. My entire point is,
JT, when you say, does that coincide, OMAS and public welfare? Would that be a violation of OMAS? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if, are you talking about the city's ability to regulate it?
I'm talking like, so, you know, at a hospital,
Yeah.
I have to relay to what I know.
Yeah.
So at a hospital, if there were issues that people said, damn, that hospital's not running right, they could call Joint Commission, and Joint Commission could come in. Or if it was a work safety issue, they could call OSHA, and they could come in and they could do an inspection. So is a public welfare concern something reportable to OMAS that they could take action?
I think theoretically it would be, but I doubt you're going to get a response. This industry is a wild, wild west right now. And I can tell you right now, I'm of the political side that passed these things. This isn't going to last forever. Medicaid's going to be reformed, and then we're going to have all these vacant properties. And we're going to be back in the same position that we were. But I think also that I got some more ideas. For some way, and I guess it's being reactive instead of proactive. When I think of Raleigh or Texas or Nashville, you think of young people going there working. At this point, when I think of Ironton, I think of rehabs. And the message of the city and the city's inaction at this point has sent to people making business or making money in this industry is you can come here and the city's not going to act. They're not going to enforce things. They're not going to pass things. They're making a calculated investment with their money that they can do this here. And I think the city as a whole should send a message back, whatever form that takes. The more I think the finance department can do something, I think pursuing zoning could do that. And the question I have is, why is it not being done? And my comment on that is, you guys don't control enforcement, but you control salaries. If you actually want to make sure things get done, you guys hold the purse strings. So I would look into that. Another thing, I think this also plays into a long-term city problem is the fact that we've allowed people that are non-residents to exploit the city of Ironton to make a lot of money. Out-of-town landlords, out-of-town property owners. Now we've got NECO makes, they've probably got 15, 20 properties here. And like Mr. Sonnenbeck said, these kids stay. They stay, and then we got to deal with them. So it's time to be proactive. It's time to take unusual or not typical steps. A couple other things I would like to mention. And this would probably be better for other times, but I would like to see unpaid water bills be pursued and brought to court, whether it be a civil suit or not. I know we had a lot of success with the unpaid property or income taxes. I'd like to see civil code violations prosecuted for different types of whatever violation that takes, and I would like to know why those aren't getting filed. And I would like to see the stormwater fees and the runoff fees be reformatted as far as an individual property owner. I shouldn't pay the same that Bill Tremblay pays out there. And again, that's another out-of-town absentee property owner. So I think that we need to think outside the box, because these places, and Mr. Anderson will agree with me, these places have replaced jails. We have a humongous jail problem, which is a county level issue. But Medicaid is being scammed, exploited by a lot of different entities. Some of them have good intentions, some of them do good things. Most of them don't. But we already have all of these out-of-town landlords that make money off us as a city. Now we've got the rehab issue, and I think the best way to do that is hit them in the purse strings. Send the finance department out, send the zoning enforcement officer out, and let them know, like, hey, at least that'll stop it. And then we can work about, honestly, making it not worthwhile to do business here. Thanks,
JT.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to communications. We have an email from Tammy Shotsky Jenkins regarding renaming of a road, and if you read that communication, Brigham, I'd be happy to sponsor legislation to that effect, but they're having an issue. It's the property right past, or right before the St. Joe baseball and soccer fields there, where there's 4 properties back there. They all have the same address because that road's an unnamed road, so they're Lawrence Street, but they're really not on Lawrence Street. So this time of year when Amazon's trying to deliver packages, they're all going to different places or not the right place, or so I think we could help them by naming that road. They have a suggestion. Doesn't matter to me, but I'd be happy to sponsor that legislation. Bob said he would too.
It's an unnamed road, you said?
Yes, sir. Reports.
Is it a city street?
Yeah, it's
So it's
a
on a
road.
private road off of Lawrence Street. And
It's within the city limits. So,
We indexed that property whenever we built the Lawrence Street apartments.
Yeah, it's
And
before
at
that.
time,
It's before that area.
okay, anyway, we indexed that in. They wanted to name it Shosky Road. At one time, they got off of that, so.
No, sorry, Norman John Way.
That what
That's what his email says.
but I got one from Tammy Shosky Jenkins.
yeah, that's who it's from.
I will get that ready. I just want to make sure that it is a city street and not a private drive, because private drives obviously have different.
Is it where John Shotsky lives? Because that is a private drive.
Yeah.
I know it by address, working on it. That's a private drive.
It says private road off of
We
Lawrence
may not have the ability to do that. I'll check. If it's a private road, it's not a city street.
Okay.
I'll check.
Reports are none. Ordinances, if clerk could please give ordinance 2159 second reading by title only.
Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Bob.
Make a motion, we suspend the rules and give ordinance 2159 third reading by title only.
Beth.
Second.
Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss. Aye.
If the clerk could please give ordinance 2159 third reading by title only.
Amending the permanent budget for the city of Ironton, state of Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Bob.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2159.
Mike.
Second.
We also, finance gave that favorable recommendation at the last meeting. Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Ordinance 2159 is adopted. Next, we have resolutions. If the clerk could please give resolution 2160 reading by title only.
An emergency resolution to accept the material terms of the One Ohio subdivision settlement pursuant to the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding and consistent with the terms of the July 21st, 2021 National Opioid Settlement Agreement.
Bob.
Make a motion, we pass resolution 2160.
Mike.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Next, we have miscellaneous. Nate.
Make a motion to receive, accept, and make part of the minutes the October 21 financials.
Bob.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Riss.
Other miscellaneous?
I have one thing.
Mike.
Um,
You got three.
I had a person, Carol Witt, contact me. said there was a water leak, and the city has been there 3 times between Heckle Street, on Heckle Street, excuse me, between 7th and the flood wall, and it still hasn't been addressed.
On Hecla?
Yes, on Hecla, between 7th and the flood wall. She said, again, that the city had been there 3 times to look at it and had not addressed it, still leaking.
Mayor, you aware of that?
No, but I'll check on it.
Your 2 others?
I noticed on our website that we discussed the bagging of leaves. Maybe I just overlooked it, but I didn't see it on the city website. Where we recommend to our citizens to bag the leaves, and our sanitation department will pick that up. It's that time of year, it needs to be on there so that we can do that. And ABM, who has doing a lot of work for the city, Mr. Brenton Watkidis is in charge of that project. And in August, he said he would be communicating with us every week or every couple of weeks. And we've not received any communications from him. While speaking with Mr. Elam today, he is sending communications, but just to the mayor and to John. And I'd like to get that forwarded to us so we can keep track of what ABM's doing.
Can you take care of that, Sam?
Yeah, and I wanted to see if we could get a strategic planning meeting on the 9th.
Jacob, that's still technically you.
For an hour. We've been going over the parking solution with them as well. We're just fine tuning that. But I think it's gonna require a little bit of time with everyone.
Prior to the regular meeting? How long do you need?
I think an hour.
Okay, so 5 o'clock on the 9th.
Keep in mind that's December, just curious,
Yeah.
but, and may
I mean, I'll need the chair.
may leave room for, finance to follow in case there's a final budget amendment, because we need to close the fiscal year. Just
And a temporary.
Yeah, and a temporary for 22. So, just keep that in mind, Jacob. We may have to have finance, Chris. Keep that in mind when you dig those out. John?
Mr. Harvey, I'd really like to present the temporary budget first. Wait till we get on into the second meeting of December for the final budget amendment.
Okay.
So the temporary budget for the 9th, the final permanent budget amendment for the Monday preceding Christmas or thereabouts.
So
Second
Chris,
reading.
I don't be you, but I can go ahead now and call Finance Committee to follow Strategic Planning Committee of December 9th prior to council to discuss temporary 22 budget. But just keep that in mind when you divvy out the new committees, that's a scheduled meeting already, okay?
I'd also like, I'm not gonna do it that day, but I'd like to have a rec committee meeting at some point soon, before February for sure.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna do it on that, we've already got 2 meetings scheduled, so we'll hold off on that.
Do you have something else? Jake?
Yeah. Are we live right now?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment? Okay. I noticed that's been the case for the past couple meetings. And I talked to Dave about it, and he said something about having 1,000 followers or a laptop with OBS loaded on it. I don't know what OBS is.
It's a streaming software that can also be used for editing.
Okay, but we were previously able to live stream?
Yeah, for whatever reason, the alert that I get now says as of December 8th, 2020, you had to have the OBS software or some streaming software for 1,000 subscribers. For whatever reason, it was letting me do it just fine up until just a few meetings ago, and then it won't let me. And he even started a new channel that I was not able to get onto tonight. For whatever reason, I could not get the iPad to connect. I feel like it's due to the internet or something.
Okay. I guess 2 things. Our contract with Dave Lucas Communication is for live streaming.
Yes.
And with the videos that are being uploaded, I've noticed too, it's taken quite a long time for some of them to be uploaded. And I just feel like in the interest of transparency of the citizens here, if you guys can get those issues worked out, I think that's really important.
As far as the live streaming, unless we can get 1,000 subscribers to the channel or purchase a laptop that we can use to set up the stream, but I mean that, to do it from a laptop, I can't do it from the Mevo. I have to set up other cameras. Like it's a different type of setup. This is a system all of its own. And it's the Vimeo company that's not agreeing with YouTube and you know, and the like that's causing the issue. So it's a change in equipment, which is fine. That just has to be figured out and discussed. Or if we could get 1,000 subscribers to the channel, which I believe Dave posted something to the Facebook page as well, trying to get people to go over and subscribe, but you can't force people to subscribe.
Yeah.
And we can't force YouTube to let us stream. It's a thing with all, again, with COVID and everything, there's been so much extra streaming coming from everywhere, they're trying to make it worth their while.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I guess the contract that we entered into was November 1st, 2020. I don't see like an expiration date on that, but if we aren't able to like re-achieve live streaming capabilities, I feel like we need to look at the language in there and reassess.
Sure. Yep.
Certain things.
And it sounds like in order to achieve our objective to be transparent and have it go out same time, real time, that we probably have to restructure our contract so that they can purchase new equipment or, you know, something along those lines. So, Chris, good luck with that.
Just another suggestion, not to interrupt, I apologize, but we don't have that issue with Facebook. I know why we switched over and everything, but I'm just entering that in as
I'll defer to
as an option. You know.
I'll defer to our tech guru on that. So you get that task, okay? And then IBI was the other thing Mike had brought up about having them present. So they had Kevin Wood hasn't been here. Was it quarterly that he's supposed to?
Yeah, it's quarterly. So he was here in August. And
okay. Yeah. I think it's about time for him, just to remind him for December. Okay. Chris.
Quick update on the inaugural K through 2 basketball league. We had 75 kids from Ironton and from St. Lawrence sign up. So 75 kids from kindergarten, first and second grade participate in the first year. We're going to kick it off here soon. So,
what was the number, K or 3 through 6, Chris? Because
I don't have those numbers. Brett could probably tell you if he were here, but I do not have the numbers.
Well, there's four teams of at least 7 girls in the 3 through 4. Just so it's been mildly successful. So thanks for spirit. I said that last meeting, but thanks for spearheading that. It's been needed.
I agree. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Councilwoman Rist, Ironton Hall of Famer, and City Councilwoman. We appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Bob.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
Thank everybody for the nice plaque. And I didn't know why my wife kept telling me you need to clean up. I always wear my same clothes. But anyway, now I know why. But thank all of you. And it was a secret well kept.
I thought you were getting ready to motion to adjourn. I
Well,
didn't know you were-
I am ready to adjourn. Maybe Beth.
Beth.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Chris. Aye.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.